Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council. It is Monday, April 15th, 2019, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Councilor Parsons.
Here.
Councilor Smith.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Freeman.
Here.
Councilor Reed.
Here.
And Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have a special presentation tonight from the McNary Air Force Junior ROTC, who will be presenting the colors. Would you all please rise if you are able? Council, if you would move to the side. Ready? Move. Ready? Post. Post. Ready? Post. Ho. Hey. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. This is a special treat for us, not only to have these fine young men and women from our Air Force Junior ROTC, but they are also being honored tonight for their volunteerism in the community. They were nominated as Volunteer of the Quarter, a nomination that was unanimously accepted by the Volunteer Coordinating Committee and by the Keizer City Council. And it is truly our pleasure tonight to honor the McNary Junior Air Force ROTC as our Volunteer of the Quarter. City Manager, who's got the, Major. So these are the folks who are here tonight. Every member of the Air Force Junior ROTC will be receiving a certificate of appreciation. They have been coming to our work days in our parks, around our community. They have been very active, and when there's a job to get done, this is a great group to get that job done. They work as a team, and they don't grouse or complain. They just get out there and get it done. It has truly been a pleasure to have them at so many different events in the city. Is Mr. Jesperson here? Mm-hmm. Would you help me in passing out these certificates as well? The McNary of McNary, the principal of McNary High School. So I will join you up here. Matt Lawyer was the one who wrote the letter of recommendation for this honor. Is Matt here tonight? No, he's out of town, he said. Okay. Oh, that's right. He is out of town for work. So with that, with all the members of the McNary Air Force Junior ROTC who are here present, please stand, and we will call your names. McNary ROTC, ladies and gentlemen. Major Garcia. On behalf of the people of the city of Keizer, we want to recognize the McNary Junior ROTC for all the volunteerism that you all have been bringing to our community with a great debt of gratitude. Thank you, sir.
It's our pleasure.
Okay, there we go. Lance Brunkel. Connor Mayberry. Thank you. Yeah, right up here. That way we can get a great camera shot.
Thank you.
Summer Stewart. Great job. Thank you. Khalil Hill. Great job. Thank you so much. Caden Taylor. Thank you. Ted Spink. Thank you. Emily Bish. All right, good job. Thank you. Thank you. Ariana Pearson. Thank you. Ruth Morales. Thank you very much. Thank you. Christian McKern. Great job. Thank you. Kevin Oliver. Great job. Thank you so much. Brady Wheeler. Thank you. Arthur Johnson.
No, thank you.
Bernice Gonzalez. Am I missing two?
And then we have two more, but both of these individuals were here just for the color guard.
Okay.
So they didn't do any of the previous things. They're like doing the core. So
Well, you know what? Come on up and stand with your teammates.
the two we got is Petrowski, Gabriel Petrowski, and we have this Alex DeBrill.
So Gabriel Petrowski and Alex Trebell. Ladies and gentlemen, McNary, Air Force Junior ROTC. Volunteers of the Force. Thank you all so much, and please continue your volunteerism, as I know that is part of your values in being part of the ROTC. Thank you so much. I want to give this to... Next up on tonight's agenda, okay, my microphone is on, is the Volunteer Coordinating Committee recommendation for appointment to the Keizer Points of Interest Committee. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Volunteer Coordinating Committee met on March 21st to review applications and interview candidates for an opening in the Keizer Points of Interest Committee. The committee is recommending Maria Pressey for position number 4, term expiring November 30th, 2020. It is recommended City Council accept the Volunteer Coordinating Committee's recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt and accept the Volunteer Coordinating Committee recommendation to appoint Maria Pressy to position 4
Second.
on the Keizer Points of Interest Committee.
That pause. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council accept the Volunteer Coordinating Committee recommendation to appoint Maria Pressy to position 4 on the Keizer Points of Interest Committee. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Is Maria here?
I was looking for it.
Okay,
I was
so
looking
she'll be-
for it and didn't see her.
Okay. I want to be able to say thank you if she was. All right.
Don't you-
Wonderful to have her on board with the Keizer Points of Interest Committee. They do so many fascinating projects around our city. Let's go on then to our Parks report from Mr. Dylan Duran.
Hello. I've just got a couple of quick things to talk about. The main one, it sounds like we'll be hearing from some other folks from the community, is that we made a motion to recommend that City Council look back into the caretaker position at the Keizer Rapids Park based on some recently passed rental laws that might have a negative impact on how we handle renting out that facility. So we'll be hearing from Richard Walsh, who can speak to a greater extent to it, I think. But we recommended, after he spoke to us, that it at least be looked back into. We also have heard from Jeff Davis. I don't know if anybody's updated you on this. He is doing a project to install some workout equipment in all of our parks. He's starting on Country Glen and the other one right next to it. Claggett Creek, sorry. Country Glen and Claggett Creek. And those are going in sometime before June, I guess, or before July. So that's exciting. I'm excited to see those put in. And then the other thing is that we are moving forward to make some changes to our matching grant application to make it easier for some youth to get access to those funds and do projects in our city a little bit easier. So you'll be getting a recommendation officially on that in the future, but we have been working through the language on it. It's exciting to us. So that's it.
Very exciting. Any questions on the Parks Board report? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we will be hearing from folks regarding that one Parks issue under public testimony. However, because it is sounds like it's going to be lengthy. We have several people signed up on one issue. I would like to ask the council if we would consider taking the Keizer Fest out of order and go ahead and deal with that, and then go and have the conversation about the parks, because that might take a little longer. So if anybody, does anybody object to changing the order of the agenda? Because I know folks are here for that. So with that, I would like to take out of order then items 8A and B, administrative action regarding Keizer Fest, and then we will circle back to public testimony. And nobody needs to feel obligated to stay for the whole rest of the evening, but we welcome anybody who would like to stay for the full proceedings. So with that, City Manager, item 8A, the resolution authorizing temporary use and signs subject to conditions for Keizer Fest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney Johnson.
Sorry, I caught you by surprise.
That's quite all right. We're going to leave 7A where it is.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and Council. It is that time again. Each year it's Iris Fest time, and or Keizer Fest, as it's now called. Sorry, can't get used to that name. As you can see in the packet, we have the resolution that we usually use every year. Ordinance 2004-489 allowed temporary permitted uses, and it says the council may by resolution authorize additional permitted temporary uses during a specific event or festival, and the council has authority to restrict and apply conditions as they see fit. This is a significant community event which is beneficial to the citizens of Keizer, and it's occurred under the leadership of the Chamber of Commerce each year. So a significant portion of the Keizer Fest will take place by the Lions Club, the Elks Lodge, and the end of Cherry Avenue. And the resolution approves signage and special events and it allows the chamber to place a sign at Alder Drive indicating that access to businesses is allowed during the Keizer Fest. Is to prevent confusion when the street closure, which local access only sign is placed at that location. So specific conditions are attached to the resolution, and you can see that as attached, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
All right. Are there any questions on the staff report? I'd like to invite up the organizers for our Keizer Fest this year, Dave Wallery, Scott White, and Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Danielle Bethel, and anybody else you want to bring along for the conversation.
We've got a big team tonight.
You do. You brought the whole team.
Thank you. I'm going to go this way and pass out some visual aids.
Pictures. Fantastic.
I didn't get the memo I was supposed to wear my jacket.
She didn't get the memo.
All right. Well, while we get these pictures and can look at the site plan, do you want to talk to us about the permit and what you've got in mind this year?
Well, I can walk us through the detours and the whole site plan, and then let's start with the big page on the back, which is the big picture of the grounds and the detours, and then we can work our way into the actual festival grounds and then take it from there with questions. Is that appropriate?
Yes, please.
All right, well, thanks for having us here tonight, Council, and Scott White, Keizer Fest Chair.
Danielle Bethel, Keizer Chamber Director, and this is Dave Wallery, co-chair of the festival.
But you didn't get the memo.
I did not. I do have a sparkly jacket for the record.
Okay, so let's take a look at the big picture, the detours. We've listened to local businesses and neighborhood associations, and again, this year feel like we've improved from the years past and the years prior to that. So every year we try to fine tune something, listen to direction from the community, and make those actions. So this year we have implemented a detour plan, which has been in place in the past but poorly signed, to omit that. And you can see here, if you're north on Cherry, approaching Alder, we will have signed detour signs that will take you around the event to Brooks and back to Cherry and ultimately back to River Road. Where we've seen a lot of congestion on the first morning that we closed this route in the years past is actually traffic that's heading south on River Road, taking a left on Membran, and then a right on Cherry to find out the road's closed and to do a U-turn and confusion there. So one electronic sign that we want to add this year, instead of saying road closed, you can see there at the corner of Membran and Cherry, we're going to put an electronic detour sign there that says detour to Cherry Avenue, so that there's no confusion in anybody's mind on how to get back to Cherry Avenue without having to do a U-turn, go back down Cherry, and try to find where local businesses are on Cherry. This electronic sign will then route them around up Membran, Brooks, Alder. When they come back to Alder, they're going to see that the local businesses are open on Cherry and proceed either way, to take a right to go to those businesses or to take a left as they normally would be heading south on Cherry. From that intersection again, then pointing toward, or if you were heading north on Cherry into the event zone there, we will have a new A-frame sandwich board out there. The business is open, listing the businesses that are open, and then the same standard sign pushed back from the intersection slightly to create less hazards in that intersection. That will continue to say the same as last year: business is open, no through traffic. So traffic can head then north on Cherry, visit the local businesses. They can head back out south on Cherry. they are able to take a left at Pronto Signs and AutoZone and exit back out to River Road. Questions?
Okay, any questions? Counselor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, and I don't know if you said this or not, but are there going to be detour signs at Alder and Brooks and Man Brendan Brooks to kind of complete that circle?
Great question. We didn't actually have that on the map, but every corner will have detour signs
okay.
with the appropriate arrows. This year also, coming back up even to Bi-Mart area will be detour ahead signs, so people know that there's a traffic control change ahead as they approach. Before, we felt traffic was just approaching that sign, and all of a sudden, oh, the no through access, which way do we go? Caused some confusion and congestion at that intersection. So we're going to have more detour signs, more awareness that there's a change ahead on both ends of the event route.
And on the corners.
And throughout the course,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
left and right, yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Can't mess that up.
Did you? Any other questions on the detour, how that's being set up?
Yeah, Chief Teague has also been involved with this also. David Leday has been to several of our meetings and also have approved this detour route. Much discussion's been heard and talked about to come up with this plan. And
I just want to add that Sergeant Leday is really good with traffic safety. And so one of the things that he contributed this year was the placement of our electronic signs. And we had a conversation with a citizen about their concern of the electronic sign that would be at Alder and Cherry, same as it was last year. And initially, the police department did go and look to see if we could relocate that sign a little more south of Alder to prevent traffic from kind of just darting out from that stop sign. But after review of standard safety practices rules, which I don't understand, they all decided that it needed to remain where it was and that it's up to the driver to do their due diligence of stopping at a stop sign because the detour doesn't forego the stop sign. And so we're just going to have to do a better job of making sure those signs are available at that particular intersection. And then they are been made aware of it, and they are motor patrol on site, so they'll be paying attention to deal with traffic at that intersection, particularly if they blow that stop sign.
Okay. So that's the Cherry Alder intersection. Okay.
Correct.
And then on here, there was a great deal of discussion about the bicycle signs as well. Do you want to address that a little bit?
I did leave that portion out. We did meet with that committee this morning and the bicycle concerns and have taken that into action. We're actually putting bicycle detour signs up along with the auto detour sign. So it'll be very well marked on where to go with the bicycles.
Is that microphone on? They can't hear you.
Oh,
Hold on, is that microphone on? Because they can't hear you.
is it red? Eat it. Okay, now is it red? No. Okay,
Okay, they can't hear him, Tracy.
Is it blue?
okay, stand by.
Stop, you have to stop.
Yep, pause.
We like to exchange microphones in the middle of meetings. We do it all the time.
When are we getting the new ones? Okay.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yay! I thought I was loud enough all the time. Okay, so Jonathan Thompson, who's on our committee, met this morning or this afternoon with Hirsch Sangster of the Bikeways, whatever committee,
Traffic Safety Bike Ped.
Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee, and he'll be participating in the access of bicycles. There's been some email communications going around trying to figure out what would be the best possible solution for that, and he's been more than willing to support our committee in making sure that that is successful for bike peddlers. So is there anything specific we should share, Jonathan? Okay, that's pretty close. We're going to put up bike signage, and from there, we'll work on detours through different electronic sites if we can gain access to them, just as we tried to last year.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate you addressing that as well. Okay, so that's the big picture. Let's go to the little picture.
Okay, moving in then towards the festival grounds. One major change that we've talked about before that we did this year versus the years past is that we're bringing everything up in front of the festival, so that it'll be blocked. The hard concrete barrier will be blocked off, as I said a minute ago, at Pronto Signs location, and from that point, that is where the hard road closure will be. Prior to that, it used to be open. We had the street was filled for parking purposes, and the hard road closure with the blocks was where the carnival rides were there for protection. And they could not go any further. They would have to exit out towards Ringo's or do a U-turn and head back out Cherry. So we've moved that hard block up to the Pronto Signs. Doesn't affect any of the businesses along there. Prior to that, then they can take a left and head out, like I said before, through that access out to River Road. By doing this, we've moved more of the event all into one location. We will have 5 food trucks in the middle of the street and other vendors along that area. All of our vendors will be in the grass and on the sidewalks, or not on the sidewalks, but just to the west on the grass from the sidewalks. And then an emergency vehicle lane along the edge that will reach the entire grounds of the festival.
Okay.
The parking this year will be now designated on the north end of Cherry, be closing at 5 o'clock on Friday night through the weekend, Sunday night. So parking will be there, parking throughout those businesses on North Cherry, and parking in the street will be the parking for this year. And then PGN has also allowed us access for parking in their facility, and we will have ADA parking there and several spots throughout the event going down to the AKS building. Other businesses on Cherry will be designated ADA parking on both ends and in the middle of the event.
Okay. And those are marked on the big map, too, that have, says
Correct.
potential
It's on the-
ADA parking, so PGN is now confirmed? that-
Correct, yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Well, how many,
Counselor Parsons.
are you going to reserve some slots in the PGN parking lot just for the ADA so other people don't go in there, though? I mean, I'm concerned, I want to make sure we have enough reserved ADA near this where they can get in and
So
out.
I'm working with the Oregon Paralyzed Veterans of America, which is the authority and regulator on ADA parking in Oregon, same as we have the last 2 years. And this year, for every 25 provided spaces for the event, are we required to have ADA accessible parking, and one of those spaces needs to be van accessible. We have 10 reserved spaces at PGN that we will mark off that will specifically have ADA parking signs there. Then the businesses that we're working with, there's 3 north on Cherry, past Manbrin, that already have designated ADA spaces that will remain so.
Okay,
We will have more than legally required, and we will advertise publicly how folks can access that, which is the only addition that we're doing this year to the festival, is that advertising piece.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, any other questions on the small map?
I just want to point out that we are adding 2 events this year to the festival, and one of them is on Saturday, May 11th. We're hosting a kickoff party at the tent for individuals that are 21 and older. And we have approximately 100 parking spaces on site at the facility at the Lions Club that we'll be utilizing for on-site parking, but we've also amended our permit to access road closure on Saturday, May 11th at 5 p.m. until midnight that night, I think, just to accommodate additional overflow parking if necessary.
Only on the north end of
Yeah,
Cherry.
just
north of
on,
Manbrin.
from Manbrin to Greenwood on Cherry Avenue.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
Sorry to interrupt, because there was a little discrepancy, Danielle. Is that the only time that that section of Cherry will be closed?
No.
Because that's what I got from Sergeant Leday. Is that wrong?
No. So Manbrin to Greenwood will be closed on, just as the actual application memo states, from 5 PM on the 16th till Sunday, well, really technically Monday morning at 5 AM on the 20th to accommodate the weekend's parking.
So that was added then?
No, what was added was May 11th.
That's what I'm getting at. So it
Yes,
was
correct.
added.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did send an email amendment that
Right,
described
no,
that.
I saw that. The confusion
Okay.
on our end was whether that was the only time. And,
Oh, okay.
and that was an added time. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So everybody needs to be checking if they think they know the Keizer Fest from the past. Check the website because there's this bigger and better than ever, bigger and better than ever. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we're hosting, the second large event that we're bringing to the community this year is a La Familia Day. 18% of Keizer's population is Latino, and we haven't traditionally done a really good job of really immersing them into the festival as a community, I think, movement. And so we've been working diligently for the last several months with different members of the Latino community, and just solidified this last week the bands, and we're working with folks in Independence and Dallas who are very excited about it. So we're giving it a try this year. It'll start on Sunday just immediately after the Teen Music Showcase, which is why we have the road closure extended till the middle of the night on Sunday, because we're going to close the tent and the festival, the carnival and everything on Sunday at 9 PM instead of 4 PM, which we have done in previous years, to host that day. So we're excited. A little
Okay.
tired, but excited.
Yeah. Oh, don't be tired yet.
No, this is a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you've addressed all the issues. This
Thank
is great.
you.
Thank
We
you.
do our very best to address what we can.
Right, good job.
All right. Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to, I guess, acknowledge all of your work with all these various organizations, whether it's the police department or various state organizations or whatever. There are a lot of official organizations who have a say in this party, and I appreciate that you are crossing all those Ts and dotting all those Is as far as figuring all those things out, and also just making things better year to year. And I really appreciate that. And, you know, I know that you listen very carefully to the community and do your best to accommodate everyone, and that's a big job. You're welcome. Now, having said that, just one little question, I guess. As I'm looking at this little map, the porta potties. There are not any in the games and the carnival games and rides areas. They're just kind of all situated around the park. I'm just thinking a lot of those.
I can address that.
Okay.
The porta potties for the carnival is provided by the carnival.
Oh, okay.
And I think they use the same people we use.
Okay. Well, good. That's
So-
just a lot of kids with a
Right,
lot of
right,
ways to
right.
walk. So I just okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't let them go behind the trees.
Good.
So,
Okay. Sorry, had to be asked.
no problem.
Thank you.
Every parent wants to know. Councilor Herrera?
I got a question for Mr. Wallery.
Yes.
How is your water source? Is that stabilized? Got that pretty good?
The water source, we've been using the center medium right between Cherry Avenue, between JC's. Is that what you're talking about, what we use?
No, I mean, in terms of, you know, didn't you used to, you have to go to hydrant sometimes when you're out there?
Oh, no, there's a water source right there where the boulevard is. I don't know what, the planter box, right across from the Elks Club.
So that's what you
Where the
use.
island is, the island, that's what I'm trying to say.
Use that
There's a
restroom,
water
right?
source right there, and I always call the city, and they come out and gratefully hook it up, and I still have all the parts, so we don't have to use a fire hydrant anymore. We only need one water source.
I know a little bit about that one.
Right, and then we put in a whole bunch of water at the Lions Club several years ago, so we don't need to use it for ourselves
Good
anymore.
for you, Dave.
So-
Thank you.
Very good to know. All right. Any other questions on the plan? Okay.
I did want to add, I didn't mention earlier, several years ago, the committee had really made an effort to reach into the community and see how they could support Keizer as a whole through the festival, because there was some confusion as to kind of what the festival did for the community. last year we were able to support Blast Camp. We've did McNary Turf Field, different projects like that. And this year, there's a new program at McNary High School called the Contemporary Music Project that needs to raise $15,000 in the next year to be a sustainable project, kind of standalone outside of district funding, which they don't receive. And so they are going to be a direct recipient of the Keizer Fest this year, and their students and staff and parents are involved in the marketing and kind of just the communication of the festival as a whole, because they're going to benefit from it. And if you don't know what CMP is, come to Greeters next week and you'll learn all about it.
What time and where?
Tuesday at 8:30 at McNary High School.
All right.
Park by the football field and come in the doors where the students are.
Fabulous. And for more information on that, they go to?
KeizerChamber.com.
All right. I love how it's staying in the community and helping our young musicians, many of whom go on in all sorts of ways, both in college and professionally. It's been amazing. All right, any other questions on the Keizer Fest signage and application and so forth? And I will be calling some folks up here in a minute who have questions, but.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
actually true, sorry. It is tomorrow. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Yeah.
Well, I'm still in last week. I didn't have a day off.
No, I get that. I keep skipping to the end of the month because it took me so long with some of the paperwork I was doing this weekend for today being tax day, that I was like, oh, today's got to be the 22nd. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
So I
Sorry.
was jumping ahead myself. All right, so Greeters is tomorrow morning, bright and early. Be there or
8:30.
be square.
Yeah.
At McNary High School.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have one person signed up who would like to bring some concerns and so forth, and then if we have additional questions, we have you on standby.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And this, again, a little bit out of order, but I'd rather keep the topic contained rather than jump back and forth. So, Sherry Gottfried, and we have here in front of us some handouts that Sherry brought for us.
Good evening. Everyone knows I'm Sherry Gottfried. I live and work in Keizer, Oregon. And I am here tonight because of the Iris Festival. I am taking it on good faith that what they're saying is true and that we don't ask for forgiveness as it seems to be in years past. I also want to state that I would not be here tonight had I have had some communication from the chamber. It's been a real issue with me trying to get communication from them. I have continually asked to be involved in this process so that, as you know, I am a business affected by this area. And I asked via people, emails, phone calls. I attended one meeting that I had to get and seek out myself to attend. So I would not be here tonight had communication been a little bit more brought to me and involved us into this effect, especially knowing that we had issues from last year. So first of all, I do want to apologize for taking up your time tonight, and I apologize for being here, but communication is really important. As I was here earlier this last year, letting you guys know, you do have the handout. I am with the Grass Hut. We do have a business on Cherry Avenue that is affected by this event every year. As I stated, our biggest concerns were the safety at the intersection of Alder and Cherry Avenue. If that is still there, that is still going to be issues, I can already tell you for sure. Unfortunately, there was a lot of glass last year there. I witnessed 3 accidents myself. Every day I went to work, there was literally, I had to stop from plowing into somebody. They just assume everybody's turning right, and they just pull out in front of you, even if you don't have your signal on. So it is a safety issue having that sign at that intersection. My other issue was handicapped. Being a handicapped person myself and the owner of my business is also handicapped. That was an issue last year. It was stated in front of our store would be handicap parking. There was no signage stating that. There was no directional signage to tell them there was no signage. It's been an issue in the past. So I do want to make sure that that is accessible for people that are ADA and having to use walkers and all that good stuff. There are some photos based on last year's pictures too in regards to the sign. And then I did want to put in there that this does affect us immensely. Our sales are listed here that entire month of May based on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if you look, 89 visits, 103 visits, 78 the first weekend. The next one's 94, 108. The weekend of the Iris Fest, we're in the 60s. It does affect us dramatically. So I just want to point that out. It is a big deal. and it's taking money out of my owner's pocket. We have 3 staff people now. My pocket, it is an issue. It also takes money out of the city Keizer's pocket. It takes money out of the state of Oregon. We sell marijuana and we collect a 20% tax on that. 17 goes to the state, 3 goes to the city. You guys are losing money too. Every time I don't sell us something, that is another dollar you guys are not getting that I know we give a lot of money, a lot of money. I just want to make sure. Last year, you suggested we hand out a flyer. We did that. We're doing it again this year. We handed them out for 3 weeks last year. We'll be handing them out the entire month of May this year through the weekend. We also placed our sandwich board at the end every morning and every night to let everybody know that we were open. But going back to the fact that I've requested numerous times to be involved in this, and I've not had that opportunity. Like I said, there's been no communication from the chamber board, or the festival chairs to me. And when I'm at other meetings that the Iris Festival does have representation there at, they could never answer my questions. It's really frustrating. You've got to see that in me, and I don't mean to be emotional, but it is really, really frustrating when you try and work with somebody and you don't get the same respect back. So I'm hoping that this will maybe make us more friendly in the future. Hint, hint, hint. In closing, like I said, we continually seek out and request. We want to run business as usual, and we want to be involved. I don't know if everybody here knows, I was very active in the chamber from 2006 until 2016. I was a chamber ambassador for 6 of those years, and I also was wonderfully awarded the President's Award in 2010. I have nothing against this chamber. I want to benefit it as well as anyone else. I'm really surprised no one's come to us and said, hey, would you be a chamber member? Anyway, thank you for your time, Madam Mayor and Council. I also gave you a map. This was given to me through a meeting that wasn't really a meeting, that was then brought to a meeting that I was at to say, hey, Sherry, this is what we're doing. It really doesn't match. So, once again, communication is a really big deal. I also told you that I had surveys. I apologize, I didn't get to the store to grab them all, but here is just a handful of the surveys I did regarding it. It does have phone numbers, people's names, addresses. If you want to call and talk to them, you can. But I would love to submit these to you guys.
You give those to Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope no one thinks I'm being rude. I've worked with you guys
Just up here,
forever.
Tracy.
I've worked
Yeah.
with these guys forever. I just want us to all get along and to try and make this a great event for everybody.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate you coming tonight and sharing your thoughts. And I'm glad we were able to, during the earlier presentation, talk about where the ADA parking is going to be. So we now have that on the map, which I appreciate. And we hope that your business with the the hard closure being past your driveway will be able to operate a little differently. Let us know how that works this year.
You'll be hearing from me, for sure.
All right. Any questions for Sherry? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk to us about Keizer Fest? All right. Is there anything else you would like to add, Scott, Danielle, Dave, to wrap up? All right. Council President Freeman, put the motion on. I know, we're jumping around the packet.
Yeah.
8.
My computer just, so.
Okay, well, I've got it right
Yeah,
here.
I've got it right here.
Okay, you got it?
Got it.
Okay.
So I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, authorizing temporary use and sign subject to conditions for Keizer Fest 2019.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, authorizing temporary use and signs subject to conditions for Keizer Fest 2019. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 8B, I believe, is the one that goes with this. Do we need an introduction from city manager? All right, this is the one regarding the temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors.
Got it right here.
Okay, are you ready? Yes. Okay. Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, authorizing a temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2019, authorizing a temporary suspension of the ordinance prohibiting street vendors. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. It's on. All right. Thank you all. Let's go ahead and circle back then to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for a public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled tonight, and that's the VIP Beverage and Event Services Liquor License application. So I have several people signed up, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the Keizer Parks Foundation to come and make a presentation. Right down there. And feel free to pull up another chair. Just you have to pass around the microphone, which gets to be a little bit of a logistical thing, but we'll get into a second one there. Right, City Manager?
I'm Richard Palmer, the president of the Parks Foundation currently.
I'm Mary McDuffie, recording secretary of the Keizer Parks Foundation.
I'm Chris Lawyer, vice president.
All right, thank you.
So this will be real quick and short. We were blessed with an opportunity a while back called the Eclipse. And thanks to the help of City Council, the city, Marlene, and a lot of other people, we put together a really cool program, made a bunch of money. So we're in a position now where we want to take that money and use it for a project that I think Bill knows about. They are in the process of coming up, and you know more about it than I do probably, but they want to put some sails over the park, over the big toy. So we want to make a presentation of $25,500 for that project.
Yay.
That's all we've got.
That's a lot. So for anybody who doesn't know, the solar sails will provide shade on the big toy. So when kids are out there, these are engineered, if I remember correctly, to provide shade at the appropriate times of day so that kids can be out there in the sun but not get burned on the equipment and be able to enjoy the big toy throughout the summer. And
We should call it the eclipse shade or something.
oh, I like it. I like it. Councilor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank the foundation, first of all, for the contribution. I was really hot and heavy on getting something shade last year because it was just hot down there. It was a hot summer, so it was very hot. So I appreciate it. If people want to donate, though, to the Parks Foundation, can you please let us know how they can do that? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but.
They can go on our website, and there is a link there, and they can email directly.
Can you say that website on the thing for us, please?
Yeah.
I don't have it right off the top of my
The
head.
Keizer Parks Foundation.
Google Keizer.
Oh, okay.
.org.
.org.
.org. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. KeizerParksFoundation.org, and they can make contributions there.
They can make contributions, and we're still set up as a 501c, so they'll be able to write those donations off on their taxes as charitable. And so, yes, we welcome any donations.
And another, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, but what's some of the other things that you guys have done for the parks? Can you name some of the other projects you've done? Dog park stuff?
Park, irrigation.
Yeah, we just did a solar project.
Microphone. Microphone.
You have to talk into the microphone, please.
I believe we also just did a solar project, and also I think we were involved in the covered shelter for picnicking and stuff at Keizer Rapids, and the sand volleyball.
Sand volleyball,
thing,
yeah.
I mean, we've been involved in a lot of things, and we've done it kind of roundabout. But at this point, we're not sure how much more we can or want to do or are able to do, but we want to make sure that the sale gets done, and I think this will be a big chunk of it, so it'll be very helpful.
Great.
Because it does get mighty hot down there.
It does. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very
does.
much. I know we worked hard to raise that money to put somewhere, so I appreciate the fact that you're putting it in there, so,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Lawyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make real clear, everybody understand, the shade cells will not be up this summer. We're going to have to close the big toy for a period of time for the support columns to be installed. And able to do that the way the process is going on. The bids are, I haven't even gone out for bid for these yet. Had a little hang up in some of the engineering design for the columns. So by the time I get that information, get the bids back, it'll be probably June. I don't want to close the big toy during the summer, take that away from the kids, so we'll close it after Labor Day, and then the cells will get installed so they'll be ready for the following summer. Just want to make sure everybody understands that now. They don't expect them this summer.
So still bring your pop-ups out there. Yeah.
Outside the big toy.
Outside the big toy, yeah, don't put it inside the big toy. Thank you so much. The work on putting the Eclipse event together brought people here literally from all over the world. The concerts that Clint Holland put on were absolutely magnificent. He's sitting right back there. I'm looking right at you. And it was such a way to welcome people here for that, the event of the Eclipse, but also welcoming people to Keizer. And then for you to create this legacy of putting the solar sails over the big toy so kids can be outside and enjoy the great outdoors. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a series of people who wanted to talk to us about the Park House, and we're talking about what we call the Buchanan House at Keizer Rapids Park, and looks like we've got, you guys have picked your order, and I understand Richard Walsh is lead off. And then on deck is Carol Dorfler.
Just for everybody's information, the limit timer, which is Richard's best friend, is broken at the moment on your side. I, however, can still see a time, and I will wave you when you have 1 minute left. You have 5 to start.
All right.
Okay.
Mayor, city manager,
Pull it up close.
a little closer.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor, city manager, council president, members of the council, staff, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk here today about this very important issue. I think what just happened here, what you just witnessed, is part of the reason I'm here. A lot of volunteers in Keizer, a lot of organizations, a lot of people have invested a great deal into Keizer Rapids Park. The amenities that are there, this volleyball courts there, the big toy, now we're going to have another $25,000 sale up there, Clint Holland with his great amphitheater. And we have another wonderful amenity there, that's the Buchanan House. The Buchanan House sits right smack in the middle of the park and virtually in eye view of all these amenities. And a perfect, wonderful opportunity for security for the park that we can have into the indefinite future forever would be to have a park host there. And the original concept, when we brought the park host house into the master plan, the original concept was that it would be somebody who'd live there and have eyes open and be able to report if things are going bad, and we have that opportunity. The reason I'm here today is that I'm understanding that the city has basically, for all practical purposes, apparently abandoned that program for good. I know we've let go of it about a year ago, but it looks like we're ready to rent the house to a regular resident. And in light of the new laws that we have, I feel that there may be some difficulty in getting that new resident out if we ever want to return to the Park Host program. But first of all, I would like to urge you to keep the Park Host program or resurrect it. There's, I can think of a million reasons why we want this and a million reasons why renting it out to an individual resident in the heart of our park is a bad idea. I don't really have time because of the time constraints to go into all of these, but I'll kind of list them. I'll list 7 reasons why we need a park host and 6 reasons why we don't need a resident in the middle, right smack in the middle of the park. 7 reasons. First 3 are security and access and services. And I think other people are going to touch on these, so I won't go into detail. Security, I think, is obvious. Access is, if something goes wrong in the park, it's nice to have someone right there, you know, like you would see at an Oregon State Park camp host, you can go to and ask for help. So it's nice to have someone there that's available. And then in terms of services, mowing the lawn, other things, this allows us to have that person pay for it himself. We would have paid someone to mow the lawn anyway. So if a volunteer or a city employee living in that house does it, we save money. So those are the first 3. The next one is it keeps with the master plan. The master plan was done by hundreds of individuals. We have had maybe one other master planning process that compares to it, and that's it in the history of the city. That is the amount of people that were involved, and those people came back and said, we want a park host. And so to not do it is to basically betray the master plan that was worked on by many. The master plan, or having a park host, is also in keeping with the intent of the money that we used to buy the Buchanan House. Buchanan House wasn't like the Buckles House, where it's like, well, we want to get the 28 acres, and this house comes along with it kind of as an aside, literally on the side. It's not like that. This was one house that was purchased independently. I think it was over $300,000. I don't know for Nate, I'm not sure the exact amount. And we paid it because there was a value in not having a personal residence in the middle of the park. And we paid it with park STCs, and we paid it with urban renewal money, proceed money. I'm corrected on that. So, but still, the idea is that this is money that we were entrusted with. Park STCs, individuals bought their homes, and they paid a certain amount for park amenities. And I don't think it's keeping with the best intention to take that money that was designated, that they paid for park amenities, and to buy a house that we're going into the real estate business to collect rent. I mean, we might as well have taken that money and just bought stocks and bonds or an annuity or whatever to make money. That's not what SDCs are for. And when we collect money when someone buys a house and they want to contribute to the parks, by paying a parks SDC, that money should go to improve the parks. And having a park host or some kind of park function for that house does that. Buying a house so the city can collect rent does not do that, at least not in the way that it's really intended. I know you can argue, oh, you're kidding me. All right. Okay. Urban renewal money also, it has purposes. There's other parties involved that the money is basically, urban renewal is to improve the city, to make it better. How does that make it better? Like I said, you might as well put the money in the stock market. And then it also, it's simple. It avoids the new law. Oh boy, I really wish I could talk about this a lot, but the Salem, or the Oregon State Parks, has two programs. One of them is a volunteer program where they're park hosts. The other one is a park ranger program where they're employees of the park system and they live in a park ranger place, a ranger station. And so they have experience with both. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can use those programs. They work. And one advantage of the park employee system, and I know there may be some costs involved with that program, but we can make it pay for itself with the services. You could ratchet it up to 40 hours a week instead of 20 or whatever, and you could really make it cost effective. But one advantage of the park system, and I'll tell, just as for city manager, is under ORS 90.10, they're exempt from the new law. And there's all kinds of other reasons I would love to tell you all about. Any questions?
All right, we'll hear the rest of the lineup, and then we'll put questions together from that, okay? All right, next up is Carol Dorfler, and on deck is Carol Phipps. Then Rhonda, you're batting cleanup. Oh, I guess not, Gary Whalen's behind you on that one.
Clip there.
Yes, he is. Good evening. Is this okay?
You got it.
Good evening, Mayor, council, staff. I am here as president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. We listened to Richard's presentation at our general meeting on Thursday, just this past Thursday, and took a vote. And the West Keizer Neighborhood Association overwhelmingly, unanimously supported Richard's proposal of getting a caretaker back down at Keizer Rapids Park. As you know, our neighborhood abuts Keizer Rapids Park, and I'm sure that the people along and closest to that park would really appreciate somebody with eyes and ears out there paying attention to who's coming and going besides themselves, who are looking over their fences frequently to see who and what and where is going on there. So again, it was a unanimous vote, and the West Keizer neighborhood supports Richard's proposal. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Carol Phipps.
Hi, I'm Carol Phipps, and I'm here to speak as a citizen of Keizer, and I've been a citizen of Keizer for 26 years. I'm in favor of the caretaker position for Keizer Rapids and would like to see that happen. I personally live against a park, and I know what it's like to, in the evenings and at night when the parks are supposed to be closed, and they aren't, because especially in the summertime when the kids are out, and not that anything totally horrific happens, but I do think for the safety of the younger kids, specifically high school, middle school kids that are out at night in the summertime, it's nice to have somebody else there at the park that would be able to kind of oversee that piece. We are very close. Our house is very close to the park at Willamette Manor, and we wake up in the evening lots of times, or early morning, when we hear noise. But if nobody's around, I suppose the rental person might call or whatever. But I do feel that it's important for the safety of the kids as well. Also, security, vandalism. We've put a lot of money, and the city has put a lot of money and time and a lot of volunteer effort into something, and it seems ridiculous to not have somebody there to sort of watch and protect and see that the facilities that are available, which are lovely, by the way, are well taken care of. And that goes for also during the day when the park is in use. And it's such a large piece of property, and it seems like it needs to have a caretaker that would be responsible for sort of keeping an eye out. So if there's a way of working it out, and it sounds like Rich has a way of working that out, I just want to say that I would support that.
Okay, we're taking notes. Rhonda? And then Gary, you're batting cleanup.
Good evening, Rhonda Rich. I'm a board member of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association and also a neighbor of the Keizer Rapids Park, and also past president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association back in 2006, when many of you weren't on council then. But I was on the president of the board for 10 years. And this was kind of an issue that got us started as a West Keizer Neighborhood Association with the regional park coming into our neighborhood. And I tell you, at that time, it was very important that we have felt secure that there was going to be some oversight in this big park. Actually, because of the natural area down there, too, half the park's natural area. So we thought this was in the contract back in 2006. I said to Nate that this was never going to go away, but there wasn't. I'm kidding. There's no contract. But seriously, this is very important to the neighborhood to feel that there's somebody over at the park who's. I know Shane would go down and walk through the natural area and kind of, feel out places that people may be camping. And I know the police department can't be over there and be eyes in the park like a caretaker would. And then you have the marine facility and the amphitheater and the big toy and the dog park and the bathrooms now. It just seems like we're putting so many amenities in there that you really want to have somebody there who can kind of, like we've said so many times, eyes and ears in the park. And to have a park host, if somebody comes from out of Keizer and has a question about something, somebody would be accessible there. I think it's just really a nice feature of the park too. So I am in support. I was surprised that we did let the caretaker go. It's been about a year ago. I haven't heard of any really terrible things happening over there, and I think maybe that's because we had a caretaker over there. So I do hope that you reinstate the program in some capacity. I'm not sure what the responsibilities were of the caretaker who was there, but I think incorporating some mowing and just kind of just eyes on the park is really what's important to us. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen.
Good evening. My name's Gary Whalen. Been in Keizer a few years. And you've already heard about some of the benefits of a park host, and I concur with those. I was on the Parks Board for a number of years, including when this program was initiated, and I think it benefited the community, the staff, as well as the park condition in itself. But Richard touched on the new landlord laws, and as a landlord, I can tell you that there's some benefits in that law, but there's also a lot of unknowns, and most of the unknowns do not fall in favor, potentially, of the landlord, but rather of the tenant. And while there are still the grounds that have always been there to terminate, the process can become extremely difficult, expensive, and if you make a false step, there are a lot of people just waiting to grab you up. And I wouldn't want to see the city put in a bad light, even if it's an honest error. Currently, in addition to the change in the Landlord-Tenant Act, there's a move afoot in the city of Portland, and usually what happens in Portland comes right down I-5 and stops at the Capitol steps. And one of the big things that's being pushed by the at least 3 members of the current Portland City Council is to not allow landlords to check criminal records of applicants. And interestingly enough, not surprisingly, but I was glad to hear, when this was presented to the City Council, there was a number of tenants themselves who said, wait a minute, we want to know who our neighbors are. We want to know if there's a convict for whatever cause it may have been that is in our neighborhood, or, you know, around our children, around our families, for their own safety and for the safety of our community. Also, if you do have to remove a tenant, you can be liable for several months of rent. I think right now, under the law as it stands, it's up to 3 months of rent, depending on the circumstances, and relocation fees. So, you know, I am a landlord, and I'm going to continue to be, but the opportunity to have a balanced table is moving out of sequence, and I would caution the city not to put themselves in that role, particularly if we can have a caretaker situation that benefits providing housing and providing security or added security as well as some labor to the park. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. City Manager, any comments or questions for us to consider at this point?
Well, sure. Shannon and I discussed a number of items associated with this afternoon, and you know, I certainly understand the concerns as raised by these folks. Oh, I'm sorry, Clint, did you?
Go ahead, go first.
I would rather sum up if you want to come chat.
There's some things I wanted to bring up.
Well, why don't I
then-
wait?
All right, then press pause.
Sorry.
I didn't have you in my pile.
I know, I wasn't going to speak. And so, Clint Holland, and I live in Keizer, and just a few blocks away from the park. I'm there a lot, so I see a lot. And I'm always amazed at the traffic and the things that go on in that park, at nighttime especially. And I'm a believer, like the rest of the park board members, that we need a host out there for the safety of the city, all over the safety. That park has gotten so huge, you have to have somebody pretty close. I mean, just strange things that have happened. I mean, police respond very fast when I call them. Like one time, somebody was trying to break those horses, those springs. They were just trying to break those the most they can, and the police were there just like in 2 minutes with one car and 4 or 5 a few minutes later. So a lot of things happen. the person that pulled the gun, was it last weekend? Now, I don't know if nothing could have happened with that, but there's other things like that that a host probably could handle, and at least call the police because they're worried about it, okay? So I'm in favor of it. The full Parks Board's in favor of it, and whatever I can do to help, let me know.
All right. Okay.
Any questions or?
Nope. I think we're good. Okay. Do we have any, do you have a question, Councilor Herrera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a question. What would be the process if would it have to go back to the Parks Board for them to discuss or the rules for, say, we would reconsider having a Parks host?
At this point, the Parks Board doesn't need to be involved in that. There
kinda
are
like
no
blood, but do we-
modifications to the master plan or anything that need to occur in relation to a park host. It's purely a council decision. So in my direction that I've received from the council twice on this matter was, let's make this simpler and convert it over to a standard rental agreement, take those funds and put them back into the park by hiring additional labor, et cetera. And some of that was because members of the community were questioning, at least I had heard, that we were being questioned on the process by which people were receiving the park host position, and that it was potentially unfair or whatnot. It started being called into question, which really lent itself toward just making it much simpler and much more straightforward with a straightforward rental agreement. Take the proceeds, buy additional labor, put them back into the park. So anyway, I will remind you that the initial reason the park host was put into place was to provide that face, that contact for the surrounding neighborhood as the park was being developed initially as a new asset. But very quickly, within a year or two, that really morphed into purely just a labor relationship between the park host, who mowed grass, took care of the amphitheater, emptied trash cans, and made a run through the park about once a night. So in the after hours. And so once that relationship became primarily labor, that also lends itself toward cleaning up the position and simply buying that labor with the proceeds from a rental agreement, as opposed to creating a fairly unusual relationship with a park host employed or maybe not employed by the city. And so, it's just sort of an unusual and potentially awkward relationship. I think if we were to go back to a park host position, I would recommend to the council that it not be a city employee relationship, that it purely be, a citizen. I have questions as to whether we would find somebody willing to do the type of work and the amount of work that we had coming from the relationship we had with the previous park host. But that could happen. You could luck out with somebody in that position to really do a good job. Sort of breaking it down, the rent on that house is about $1,500 a month, roughly $1,300 to $1,500. So if you break that into an hourly wage, we could expect somebody to work about 2 hours a day, maybe in the park throughout the course of the month. So it's not like we can expect somebody to be at the park from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., open to, whatever, sun up to sundown, watching the park all the time. We would be expecting a couple of hours of work a day, or possibly no work several days and then 7 or 8 or 9 hours on a weekend to get ready for a concert, et cetera. So it'd be kind of up to them to manage their hours. So I just want to set expectations of what we would actually be getting with a park host position. Some of the challenges we've had in terms of being questioned about its fairness and how it was arranged, even though the hosts were selected through our volunteer coordinating committee, just like we select every other volunteer, so it was a very fair process. So anyway, it's up to the council. If the council wishes to go back to a park host, that's fine. We can do that. I'm going to take my cue from the council. I've been told twice not to do that. If the council wants to change that, that's fine. If you do want to go as a rental agreement, we probably need, in looking at it today, probably need to go back and do some work and modify the master plan really quick, because the master plan does identify the Buchanan House as a park host house. And that happened when we purchased that property so that we could identify a use for it and bring it into the master plan and bring it into the park area. So anyway, those are just some of the thoughts. I would recommend, if you want to head that direction, let me know. Shannon and I and Bill will take a look at it, think it through, and bring back an agenda item at a future council meeting.
Councilor
may-
Herrera and then Councilor Kohler.
If I may, if I remember correctly, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Some of the questions I got from community members and other folks was the appearance of an employee working, and then his dad was the parks director. And I got that more than once, twice. And I'm not talking about the employees that talk to me about it. I'm talking about folks in the community. And just the appearance, and we all love Shane, and we thought he did a great job. But just the appearance, there were some questions, you're right, about the process, and I received some myself. But I thought, in the fairness of the process, and I get it, you know, they're volunteer. I know, I know how that works. I worked for the city for 20 years, so I know. But anyway, the process was one thing, and then the appearance, they'd say, you know, and then I would ask questions as who's documenting the hours and all that, and there was never any answers that I got, you know. So it just became kind of mushy, and so I thought, well, we should, you know, and you know, if I had my best friend having the house, I wouldn't blame for somebody asking me, you know, or something like that, or I was, and I refused to, you know, I just want to answer to those questions. I know Shane, he did a wonderful job, but just to me as a city, you know, you got to be careful, you know, on the appearance.
Well, and that gets back to a little bit to why it becomes an awkward relationship. You develop a park host agreement so that you don't have to expend a lot of resources and labor down at the park, and yet, do you need to assign a supervisor to specifically document all of the labor the person is doing to justify the park host agreement? And that then becomes awkward and time-consuming, and so,
Well,
anyway.
to me, it was more awkward to have a relationship with the dad and the son in the house. That was kind of, to me, I understand that, why people would ask me that. To me, I know the guys, they're great, but I understand a public guy that doesn't know who they are, and I understand him asking how did this become, you know, and so and so. But believe me, I've seen firsthand with Clint and other folks, the work that was done there, but I was concerned about some of the things, so that's where that came from as far as, and I want to clarify that. And I do look forward to revisiting this, and I would like to see, you know, a fair process and see somebody, if we have to work the nuts and bolts and the rules or whatever, you know, I'm fine with that. I think that's a good idea. I trust Richard because Richard knows that park better than anybody, and I've talked to him, and I think that after talking to him, I think we do kind of need something. That's my opinion. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to make one comment and go to Councilor Kohler. One of the things that I heard was very much related to a level of service. So in my mind, we would have to really look at what the expectations are. I heard a lot about security. Well, is this an officer? You know, what are what's the authority that we expect? What training do we expect of a person who does this job? We heard a lot about services. What services would be provided that are different or in addition to the services we now provide through our Parks Department? So you'd have to do a level of service analysis to make sure that what we're getting is going to be appropriate and you know, what we're paying for. So when you're talking $1,500 a month, what does that buy you? When you're talking a couple of hours a day, what are the expectations of that person? Does this all have to be in writing? We would have to know what that's at. I'll come back to you, but I'm going to go Councilor Kohler for your comments. But in my mind, there's a lot of work that would have to go into this prior to going back into a park host type of situation, if that is cost effective. In the meantime, that house needs to be occupied, in my mind, so it is not open to vandalism. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have just a couple of questions that I jotted down during our discussions. One is, how much would a caretaker really cost us? I mean, are we looking at just the rent, or are there some other costs involved in that?
Well, it kind of depends on how you structure it. If you do it as a ranger type of relationship, then you would actually employ the person, which would give us more control. in direct authority over how they spent their time. Yet you would start bringing in issues like benefits and retirement that would start costing money. So I would be hesitant to go that direction. If it's a park host relationship, it's a volunteer position. At that point, the cost truly would simply be forgiving the rent on the house. So there'd be no direct cost, although we would not be receiving the revenues in. So the direct cost would be $1,500 a month times 12 months.
Okay, and if we had, like, Shampooey State Park is one that comes to mind. They have a ranger, and then they have several park hosts. And the park hosts get to park their travel trailer there all summer, and they just enjoy the park all summer long. Other than that, I mean, that's their compensation. And many of those guys are putting way more hours in than that particular slot where they park their travel trailer would cost. Are we looking at that type of a scenario where somebody just says, hey, I'm retired and I'd just like a place to live and I'll watch over the park, and if I spend 10 hours a day doing it, I'm okay with that?
Yeah, we certainly wouldn't limit anybody's volunteer efforts, but in relation to what we could expect contractually for that asset, it would be $1,500 worth of labor a month.
Okay, and then could a caretaker actually be considered a tenant or a renter? And because I am really concerned about the new tenant landlord law. My folks have rentals, and I've reviewed a lot of that, and it is scary.
I don't know the answer to that question, and that's some of the information I would like to bring back if we're going to head that direction. Because I just honestly don't know. I don't know how that relationship would look in relation to the tenant landlord laws.
Because I personally feel that if we could have a host like they have at Shampooey State Park, where they can come and somebody that just really loves to be there and do something, I would like to examine that, because I think it would be beneficial for everybody, including maybe the people that stayed there, if that's what their real love was. If they're an employee and we're expecting 2 hours of work at them, and that's what they know that they're expected to do, and they feel like, well, I can't actually go get a real job because I'm expected to be here, that's some other things. But if they could be a park host like the state parks do, maybe we could pattern it after that, then I think that's something we could examine.
Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As far as if you were to turn that into a rental, what would be the process for an applicant? Do you have the ability to pull a criminal background check, credit reports, things like that a standard property management company would go through, or would we contract that out?
I'm not sure that we do a criminal background check, but we have done on other rentals credit reports. And if I could, I do have some concerns about the landlord-tenant laws, the new ones, but not enough for that to be a game changer. We wouldn't enter into something with a tenant where I felt we had like a huge difficulty trying to get somebody out later. Remember, of course, if you end up with a park host and the park host situation doesn't work out, and you have to get rid of that person too, which is on a different set of laws, granted. So, like Chris, my suggestion would be is if you want to consider this, we would bring it back and schedule it and give you a little more full information in a packet.
Yeah, I definitely need more information, because just based on what I do on a day-to-day basis, I called, when this came up, I called a couple of property management people, a couple of real estate agents, and just said, in this scenario, what would be your general recommendation? And they all said, don't get involved in the landlord stuff right now. And it's just because the law is brand new, and we have a lot of opportunity to put ourselves at a higher level of risk, that I think we need a little bit more research before we make that kind of a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Freeman.
Oh, my mic is on. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to acknowledge a couple comments that Carol Phipps made. She lives in another park in our community, right? It's not as big as Keizer River Rapids, and we have many other parks in our city as well, which probably do not lend himself to put an RV in to be a park host. But I think that there is some merit to look at this as a whole park system potentially, because we've just redone Country Glen Park and it's beautiful and it butts up to the neighborhood there as well. We have Claggett Creek Park. I mean, we have many parks, I think, that could benefit potentially from a park host. I don't know what that looks like. And I guess for me, I just would hate for us only to look at Keizer River Rapids Park, because we have many other parks who also have neighbors that experience things in the night or early in the morning or whatever else time of day, in the middle of the day. And so I just think that we need to look at this in a broader aspect. That's all. Thank you.
So what you're talking about is host or just increased presence, or both?
Or both.
Okay. Councilor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, is it on? I don't feel like it's on. I was in on all this process early on. I was on the Parks Board. When we did all of this before, and it was a wonderful idea as we were getting that park ready for new things that came in, because it was a lot of trees. I mean, we've taken all those trees out now, which has, helped in a way because people can't hide in those trees. But I would like to see staff come back with a report on the pros and cons of and what it would entail for either one, whether it be a rental or a park host, and how we can accomplish that. So I would like some more information from staff before I can even make a decision. I mean, I love the park host idea, but I also think the park host needs to be a full-time park host, not work outside of that and then just 2 hours a day look at the park, because I think that was overwhelming even for Shane, I think. And so, but there's many other ways we can look at this, and I think that we just need some more information. I know I need more information.
Definitely. Anybody else? So what I'm hearing is that to understand how this house can be used in terms of residents, either as a park host or as a rental, we're going to need information for going forward, because with the new laws, but also what does it really take with what are the risks and benefits for a park host? What are the expectations? What would be, what level of service are we really talking about? When you're talking about the national parks and so forth, the state parks, there's rules that go with it, and there's processes they have to go through to get people into those positions. It's not, hey, I want to be a park host, and next thing you know, you're there. There's training that goes with that as well, but we have to have clear expectations about what this position can and what it can't do. Because I heard a lot about security, and I'm not sure I want a park host out there patrolling when that's more appropriate for our police to be out there. So I want some real clarity on that before we commit to anything. And my other concern, though, is that the house is now vacant, is it not? And I am not comfortable with the idea of that house being vacant. And if it means getting a renter in there, so we have that house occupied sooner than later, in my mind, that's very, very important. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it would be good to have staff look at what the state parks do, how they regulate that part of the ranger versus the park host, and see if that's something that would be beneficial for us.
Mr. Lawyer, comments? I can see you thinking.
I'm just thinking I got a lot of work to do here coming up. A lot of unanticipated work, but that's okay. I will just say from my experience in my travels and camping, I've not camped in a lot of state parks, so I can't speak directly to that program. But Forest Service parks, county parks, all the other ones I've gone to in my life, those park hosts get paid. They get their space, and they also get paid to be there. And that's their job, and they're there all summer long. And people are different. Some you talk to love it. Some you talk to don't love it quite so much. I've had some tell me I'll never do it again. I've had others tell me I'll be back next year if they'll have me. So those are the programs I'm familiar with. But we can certainly look into the state parks program and see how that functions. From my experience at state parks, which is very minimal, I kind of doubt that the hosts don't get paid. They do not get paid.
I can't state parks all the time, they do
Okay.
not get paid.
Okay.
They park there, they get a park there for up to 3 months, free of charge, as
So
long
they're-
as they
they're-
put back so many hours into cleaning and doing all that kind of stuff.
So,
They don't
Again,
do security, though, they just do cleaning.
Right, and that's where we're getting to expectation, because I heard security, I heard eyes on things like that, but we've got to be really clear what our expectations are, because I don't want to have, A, a false expectation of a level of service, or B, put somebody who is not trained and doesn't know what to do into a situation where they themselves could be at risk. So there's some thinking that has to go into this, but in the meantime, just, a cost benefit and a clarity on level of service that we're talking about. In addition, I heard also we need to take a look at the master plan. So with consensus of council, take a look at the portions of the master plan that relate to this property and the charge house. I think there was some language tweaks that needed to be made there as well, since that house is not habitable. So with consensus of council, ask staff to come back with that information. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, that new rental law, is that 608 you're talking about, Richard? Is that 608?
Yeah, 608.
Well, see, it's my understanding that 608, if I remember, they did the purpose of that to limit the increases of rent. That was the main purpose, increases to one time a year. And then to be more reasonable on the timing for like renovation, and that's kind of was the main purpose of that.
Well, hang on, that people can't hear you. People can't hear you. We want to make sure that people who are not here can hear you.
You're inviting Richard back to the microphone.
Yes, I am.
I just happen to have Senate Bill 608 right here.
Imagine that.
Why does
And
that
if anyone
surprise
would
me?
like to read it, it's really fun reading. It's quite long, actually. It's
Oh,
longer
I
than
guess
you
the
would
part
think.
that really concerns me was, I was aware of that part, but you said something about it's almost impossible to get somebody out of.
Yeah, they have there's four main reasons to kick somebody out. I don't want to read this whole bill, but
No, just give me.
I got it here for you if you want to read it afterwards.
That's what I'll do. I
But
just
there's
was curious.
two main functions of this bill. One is rent control. You can't raise it above a certain amount every year, plus cost of living and so on. And it's all capped. And then the second reason for this bill is to keep people from being evicted unless they get, I think, 3 written warnings, and they have to be violations of the contract, and it's like firing a city employee. I mean, it's just,
Thank you.
no reference meant there, I'm sorry. But
Wow.
it's a big process. And it's not something to be taken lightly. I did not mean that, the way it sounded. But I do have a copy of the bill here, if anyone wants to see it. I also have a copy of ORS 90.110, which says that if you have an employee that has a residence, it says here, occupancy by an employee of a landlord whose right to occupancy is conditioned upon employment in and about the premises is exempt from this entire law. So, and like Shannon said, that's different laws. And I would like to say, just for a second, is Oregon State Parks demands at least 20 hours a week for the value of a camping spot. So it doesn't have to be exactly $1,500 by math. I mean, they demand a lot more than that. Plus, they got eyes and ears, and they're expected to report stuff. If a bomb goes off, you're expected to call. It's kind of like being on call kind of thing. I'd love to keep talking, but I don't think.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. You answered the question. So what, I've raised more questions than answers, but I think that's part of what this is about. But we really have to have some clarity on this before we jump back in, because again, if this person's an employee, a whole nother level of regulations kick in. So we have to understand what we're getting ourselves into before we decide if we're going to move back, introduce a program with clarity on level of service. And are these levels of service that people are talking about now, ones that we are now able to provide because of the parks fee and our increased level of service throughout our parks? And that's the other question I would like to ask. Before we jump into this program, are we already doing it through the increased level of service? And where the money from the rent would continue to go into the park to pay for materials and services for the parks in general. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really concerned about the new tenant landlord laws because my parents have several rentals, and I've gone through some of that with them, and this stuff is really scary. I mean, really scary. If my parents sold the house that they're currently in and wanted to evict one of their renters to move into their house, they're not allowed to do that. I mean, some of these rules are really scary. I have other people that I know that are landlords, and they're extremely concerned about this. Several of them are just flat getting ready to get out of the tenant business, landlord business at all. And I think we need to be extremely cautious with that.
Okay. All right, so do you have enough to go on,
Yes.
City Manager?
Yes.
All right. So we will get a staff report with some ideas, pros and cons. All right. I think there's one more for public testimony, I think, before we go. And thank you for hanging with us for the public hearing. I appreciate everybody's patience.
She's falling asleep, Mendez.
Kind of.
We'll get to him. It'll only take us a minute.
But I think we have some folks from the Claggett Creek Watershed Council here for another soggy day at the park. So, Mr. Callier and Ms. Deal, did you want to talk to us about this under public testimony? Is this just for our information? Although I'm offering you an up.
It's under administrative.
Oh, we've got it. Okay, this is under 8C. Never mind. I'll call you up then. I do have the gavel. I can do that. All right, anybody else for public testimony? All right, then we will go on to the public hearing of VIP beverage and event services liquor license application. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Give me 1 second to get back to that item. Okay. Very good.
Good evening, Mayor.
Oop.
So
I'm going to intro you.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am.
So City Manager will give his staff report, and then I will.
Oh, awesome.
But usually I have to drag somebody up here, an owner, so thank you for going ahead and coming on up and being ready. So on March 22nd, 2019, the city received an application for a new liquor license for VIP beverage and event services. The applicant is Pedro Mendez, who is sitting right there. And the business will be located at 1125 Swingwood Court Northeast in Keizer. The application is for a limited on-premises and limited off-premises license as required by Keizer ordinance. Public hearing was scheduled. Notice was published and mailed to all property owners within 200 feet. The Keizer Police Department reports they ran a background check on the applicant and had no reason to recommend denial of the application. In addition, Community Development Department reviewed the application and found it acceptable due to the fact the location is only being used to store products and no retail sales will be performed from the site. This request is subject to all applicable requirements governing home occupations in the Keizer Development Code, Section 2.403. And with adherence to these standards, this request can be approved. The applicant will not sell or have on-premises consumption, as per the OLCC email attached, Oregon Liquor Control Commission. It is recommended the public hearing be open to allow testimony from the applicant or other interested individuals, and upon completion, the hearing be closed. It is further recommended the City Council recommend approval of the application for VIP beverages and event services under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and then we'll forward that recommendation to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is now open, and the staff report is added as part of the record. So we do have the owner here. Thank you so much for being here. Would you please introduce yourself and talk to us about your application?
Yes,
for
thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council. My name is Pedro Mendez. I'm the current owner of Fiesta Event Insurance, as well as VIP Beverage and Event Services. Just a little background on how we've got to this point is I've been an insurance agent for about 9 years. I recently left the mortgage business. I actually purchased Justin Morris's old house on 1125 Swingwood Court. And so, don't hold that against me. And by my accounts, if you haven't filed your taxes, you have about 3 hours and 20 minutes. So with all that being said, as my event insurance business has kind of morphed and I've been able to network with a lot of municipalities. Actually, your location here, the City of Keizer, is one of my larger accounts. They said it's a lot of business just because of the ability to work in the Hispanic community. And so because of this has been a common theme with a lot of my venues, they've asked me, says, hey, do you know of anybody who's bilingual that we can actually start using for beverage service? Because we want all our vendors to be on a preferred vendor list. And so that got me thinking of the opportunity of being able to add that to my event insurance business. And so after discussing everything with the OLCC, upon their recommendation, I initially applied for an off-premise application or license. And in conversations, they decided that it would be beneficial to add the on-premise. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Why do they call it that? And I said, well, it's kind of a weird name, but what that designation allows you to do is to be able to take last-minute orders. So apparently the sale of and delivery of alcohol that day or the following day is out of the scope of the off-premise sales. So by adding that, now someone can call me last minute when they lose their beverage service the day before, and I'll be in compliance and be able to deliver those products to them. So I don't plan on running a bar out of my garage or anything like that. Actually, the OLCC requirements are really strict. I actually have to send in a map of my garage and actually put yellow tape on the floor designating my area. And so really my business model is to become and serve the blue collar folks, keeping the beverage service reasonable for them, especially in the Hispanic community. We heard Danielle speak earlier about Keizer's 18% Hispanic. And, now it's 18.1 because I live here now. So, but I want to be an asset to that demographic. I want to be a resource for them. Likewise, all my venue partners. So that's what I'm here today is. I know it's kind of weird that it's more of a technical issue with the name of the application, but my business model is exactly that. It's just, being able to deliver the products to events, usually on Saturday morning. So that's pretty big.
Well, thank you. You're right. This is different than the vast majority of the hearings we have, which are usually related to new restaurants and things like that. So thank you for choosing Keizer.
Yeah. One last thing. I hope that it's a temporary situation. I hope to have, not so much like a storefront, but more like a warehouse type setting, an office, because my business is not a destination type business. It's going to be a lot of phone calls and emails. Everybody knows what beer is. Everybody knows what wine is. I just want this. I want this. I want that. Deliver it this day. I'm like, okay, perfect. So that's pretty much it. I don't anticipate a lot of traffic or people coming and going. So that's not my business model. So.
All right. Questions? Councilor Ferreira.
I don't really have a question, but I'm glad you live in Keizer now, Peter.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
Full disclosure, I know these gentlemen very well. The gentleman sitting back there is the son of a former Marion County Sheriff.
Yep.
But anyway, I really believe that, knowing Peter, I know that he's always been a business type person and a very assertive, and you're not in the mortgage business anymore. Oh, that's right, you're pregnant. But anyway, I welcome you to our community.
Thank you.
I had
Thank
heard
you.
that somebody sold that house, but they didn't tell me it was too Hispanic. Thanks. So welcome. I hope everything works out.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Full disclosure.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Was there anybody else who wanted to speak to this issue tonight? All right. Close the public hearing. Council President Freeman.
I move the Keizer City Council recommend approval of the application for VIP beverage and event services under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinance of the City of Keizer, and then forward this recommendation to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval.
No second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council accept the recommendation for the application for VIP beverage and event services under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and to forward this recommendation for approval to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we'll see Ms. Davis for your paperwork. Very good. Okay, we are going to circle back. Tonight is flexible. Before we go to the soggy day, apparently we do have one more report, committee report, and that is from the Planning Commission. So Michael, I'll invite you down, then we'll go to item 8C. I saw you there, but I didn't have your paper.
There were a lot of people here when I got here, so I kind of just snuck in. Madam Mayor, council, staff, good evening. I'm here to just give an update on the Planning Commission from our most recent meeting, which was April 11th. Let me fix this so I can see through my glasses. As you may know, we're working on the UT, the Urban Transition Zone, and right now there's 111 properties. We sent out our staff sent out a survey to those property owners. The 15 survey respondents came back. Basically, the point of trying to deal with this urban transition zone, it was originally where there was no, towards the edge of town with limited services, but those services have now been extended and there's actually development all around them. And so we're trying to basically address these properties that are still under that zoning to have efficient and good orderly development on those properties. Right now, because they're urban transition, landowners need to come to the city for a conditional use permit. So there was an original plan to what was called a shadow plat that got a little changed in the name, but the concept was similar. But based on the city's attorney's guidance, the language in that was presented originally to council was changed, and so we had a summary of 4 options. Well, I think originally there were 2, and it kept morphing and changing, and by the end of the meeting we had 4, and I'll do a quick rundown of them, and it's actually helpful to see them on paper because we were having problems trying to keep track. The first was that all properties would remain in the UT zone. Properties over 1/2 acre would have special requirements when developed. Second one was that properties under 1/2 an acre would all be rezoned to RS. Third was that all properties would go through the legislative rezone to RS. And finally, restructure the text to allow new structures on lots under 1/2 acre, and lots over 1/2 an acre would need the conditional use permit. There was a lot of back and forth. There was some testimony from some of the folks who had responded to the survey. I would say the majority of the comments from the public were in favor, but they had some questions. There was one that was a little more concerned about loss of open space and basically paving over everything in the city. But because of the confusion and unable to, at least I know personally, track all the nuances of each of the options, we decided to extend the hearing for one more meeting, and staff will bring back the 4 options again to us, and we will discuss and hopefully decide in our next meeting. So that was about it. Any questions?
All right, thank you very much. And I did attend as liaison that evening, so it was a very robust conversation, and appreciated the outreach to all of the property owners out there to invite and welcome their input. So look forward to this reaching conclusion. Any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's go to item 8C, which is a fee waiver request for a Soggy Day in the Park 2.0 at Keizer Rapids Park. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Chris. Madam Mayor, Council, the Kelly Creek Watershed Council is planning the 2nd annual Soggy Day in the
Microphone.
Park. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'll start all over again.
Please.
The Claggett Creek Watershed Council is planning the second annual Soggy Day in the Park event for April 20th, 2019. This event is designed to encourage families from the community to get into the outdoors, have fun, and learn something about the Willamette River through boat rides on the river and learn about invasive species through nature hikes in the natural area of the park. Other activities planned include backhoe demonstrations, food catered by Adams Rib Smokehouse, and bouncy houses for kids to play in. This matter is before the council to consider whether it is appropriate to waive or reduce fees for this event. Here's a breakdown of the total fees for the event as proposed. Application fee for the amphitheater permit $60, refundable deposit $150. The use fees 6 hours at $40 an hour for a total of $240, and for a grand total of $450 in total fees. It is appropriate for the council to consider this matter of the fees and make a minute motion to deny the waiver request, waive some of the fees, or waive all of the fees for the April 20th, 2019 Soggy Day in the Park 2.0 event at the Keizer Rotary Amphitheater in Keizer Rapids Park. Staff recommends the council should consider the matter and make a minute motion to formalize its intent with regard to the fees. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And those that I can't answer, Mark and Dorothy can.
And I would invite them to work their way down to the front here because we're going to have, give you an opportunity to promote this event anyway. Any questions on the staff report? Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What did we do last year on this?
Well, actually last year, they were able to have the event without reserving anything because since that event and now we have changed the park rules, and the park rules ordinance states that any gathering over 50 people requires a permit.
Make sure that we have planning and logistics.
Now, just for clarity for the newer counselors, last year we did have the amphitheater permit, but there was also the availability of a first come, first use for the amphitheater, and they gambled, if you will, that nobody was going to be there on that day, and they used the amphitheater at no charge. But again, since then, we've changed the parks rules. Any gathering of more than 50 people requires a permit.
All right. Any other questions? Tell us about Soggy Day at the Park 2.0, please.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council and staff. My name is Mark Keizer. I've been a resident of Keizer for a while. I have Dorothy Deal with me. She's also a member of the Claggett Creek Watershed Council. Last year's event, we had about, well, depending on who you're talking to, we like to think it was about 300 people, but maybe it was 250. But at any rate, 250, 300 people. It turned out to be probably the nicest, sunniest day of the spring.
It was.
We're not so sure that's happening this year. What the whole purpose of this event is Claggett Creek wanted to put on a family-oriented event that would be free to anybody who wanted to show up. We try to expose them for, like, we have jet boat trips on the Willamette. This year, right now, it's touch and go depending. I think the river level will be fine. It'll be 16 feet by Saturday, which is good. However, the dock is not in good shape. It's inundated with trees and all kinds of stuff that we may not be able to get rid of by then. But we'll make that call on Friday. But we've had also Bouncy House, free hot dogs, the first 300 folks there. The Arboretum was introduced. We'll have Arboretum tours again this year. The city of Keizer participates, get Robert Johnson out there with a backhoe, and he lets little kids run a backhoe and do a couple things. Volcanoes are supposed to be here this year with a booth and with Crater. CERT helps us out. And it's basically just a nice time. We're telling everybody, hey, you live in Oregon, suck it up, come on out. Come on out and have a good time at the park, rain or shine, because we're going to be there. It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm looking at, of course, this is subject to change by moment, right? I'm seeing partial sun and a high of 60.
And there you go.
So we're going to hold that good thought.
Maybe it would be like the old Salem Rainmakers, where it never rained on the day that they had their parade.
Yep. I think that's kind of how it goes around here, that rain comes when it's just jolly well good and ready, isn't it? So I heard Crater is going to be out there.
That's, we believe so. Well, we've had a lot of interest this year. It came kind of late, but in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we probably had at least 5 different contacts from different businesses that wanted to participate. Some wanted to be able to sell things, and that's not our thing. Everything that we're going to do out there, nothing's going to be for sale. It's all for free. So, but we have had others, and some of it's a matter of it's a little late for us to change our game plan. We really are not at the amphitheater. We're really more down along the south end of the park is where all our stuff will be, trying to keep it all together there. So, but we hope to grow this. We hope to make this a continually annual event, a free family day. We were just talking, he said, we really missed it. We should have had an Easter egg hunt. We never even thought about it until now.
I had 3 people ask me if there was going to be Easter egg hunt out there.
And I think the last time I knew, Clint from someplace had like 5,000 Easter eggs from someplace. We probably could have got him out of his garage there somewhere. But anyway, we're not having an Easter egg hunt. That's our bad. We should have been a little bit better about this.
But it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And what are the hours for the event again?
10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So it's not an all-day thing, 10 to 2, and 4 hours of fun.
All right. Sounds fabulous. And if people want to find out more, where's the information posted?
We've got posters throughout the community. It's also on the Clag Creek Watershed Council's website. It's also on our Facebook page. And you can also just Google Clag Creek Watershed Council and you'll see Soggy Day in the Park.
All right. Well, thank you for all your work going into putting on this event. It was a lot of fun last year, and I'm looking forward to being down there again this year. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the council liaison of the Clyde Creek Watershed Council, I'm totally impressed with the work that they do and how they're able to get people to volunteer together. And this Soggy Day at the Park is their way to say thank you for all the people that come and help and put all this stuff together. So I tip my hat.
Thank you, Councilor.
All right. Great. All right, Councilor Herrera?
One more question, Mark, and I appreciate all the stuff you guys do, Mark, it's everywhere. Is there any contact with schools, like letting kids know about this event?
No.
You don't want to do that, or?
We have not had.
I'm just thinking about the little guys.
I understand. We have not had great success in getting information out through the schools, elementary schools, because we haven't really tried it's, you can't go to the school and say, here, could you give this to a kid? First of all, they'll be all over the neighborhood if they got out, but also the teachers have to hand them out and da-da-da-da-da. They just don't do that. There's, put a poster up on their community board they have in the hallway there, but that's about it.
Okay, just standard.
But also all of our student volunteer groups, because they're part of the groups that we are all saying thank you to. They've gotten the notifications, I'm assuming. Like Clyde Creek Middle School, Whitaker Middle School, and the McNary groups that have helped with the projects.
They know, yes.
Okay, perfect.
And like I say, there are some signs up and down River Road and some of the businesses and such too.
All right. Well, everybody share it out.
Oh, and there was
Okay.
also something in the Keizer Times. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And the
Good
chamber
support.
calendar.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Now we're locked in.
Okay, Council President Freeman, you want to put a motion on the table?
Now that we're all non-jumpy from the doors locking.
Yeah.
I move that Keizer City Council charge an application fee only for this event, which is $60, and waive all other fees.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council waive fees, aside from the application fee of $60 for the Soggy Day at the Park 2.0. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Everybody be down there Saturday, 10 o'clock, and we will be thinking a little less soggy. All right, that takes us to the consent calendar. Council President Freeman, we want to read the items on the consent calendar tonight.
Sure, we have 3 items tonight on the consent calendar. Item 9A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to award and enter into an agreement with Roy Hout Construction LLC for the annual street resurfacing project. 9B is approval of the April 1st, 2019 regular session minutes. 9C is approval of the April 8th, 2019 work session minutes.
Are there any polls? Council President Freeman.
Sorry, I move that the Keizer City Council adopt the consent calendars, items 9A, B, and C.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Council liaison reports.
Madam Mayor.
Yes. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you. I wasn't here for the one work session, so can I really vote to say yes on that?
You can.
Okay.
We changed our rules about 2 or 3 years ago at the request of then Councilor Coho. So yes.
All right, thank you.
You can.
Just want to clarify.
Thank you for asking the question. That's going to be under new, other business. Okay, council liaison reports. Council, pardon? Yeah, is that end? Okay.
She's not ready.
Councilor Kohler, why don't you go ahead and lead off?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I attended the Clyde Creek Watershed Council, and they're very heavily engaged in this Soggy Day in the Park. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we heard a lot about it tonight, so I won't go into detail, but go. It should be a lot of fun. Saturday evening, I attended the annual Rotary fundraiser banquet. What an incredible group of businesses and community leaders. I'm impressed at all the things that they do in Keizer. I apologize for missing the work session last week. And I'd like to express my appreciation to Mayor Clark for attending the Chamber Board meeting Wednesday morning, and Councilor Reed for covering my assignment with the Traffic Safety and Bike Ped Committee on Thursday as I was out of town. This week I anticipate going to court, and the 24th, Little League Long Range Planning Meeting.
All right. Great, thank you so much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Parsons and I toured the West Valley Communications Center, which is the 911 dispatch, as part of the Citizens Police Academy, and that was a fantastic experience, as are all of our experiences with the Citizens Police Academy. So that was really interesting and very enlightening, and they apparently are open to any and all. So just contact them if you have a group that is wanting to tour that. So. McNary had its first track meet on the 3rd, and they have 2 more home meets on the 17th and 26th. So those are interesting community events, and come out. It's not much fun if it's raining, but nevertheless, they're still very, very worthwhile, great community events. We have the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, and at that we had Lauren's and Keizer Fest present, and I think they did the tour of the various neighborhood associations, and some great information there as well. Had a Keizer Heritage Board meeting. The traffic safety and bikeways pedestrian. We talked a lot about bike racks and where they will be going, particularly in light of the McNary construction, but also the question was brought up, what other schools around Keizer might benefit from that kind of activity. And we also talked about different bike repair locations for another bike repair station. So those are just 2 very, very representative things of what went on that night, but a lot of really dedicated people, and I always appreciate subbing in on these various committees so I can see what else is going on. Attended Enchanted April with the Keizer Homegrown Theater, which was a staged reading, which is kind of an interesting concept. It's basically it was a play, but they had scripts in their hands, so it was something to kind of get used to. But it was very well done, very entertaining, and just really a high quality production. On April 28th, we are having a volunteer recognition day at the Keizer Cultural Center. And to thank all the volunteers of all the various tenant organizations there, the library, the theater, the art association, and the museum. And a big thank you to all of those volunteers who are engaged in that. The library at the Keizer Cultural Center is accepting donations for their upcoming semi-annual book sale. So if you have any books that you're wanting to get rid of, they will be happy to accept those. And today I got a letter from or an email from Sam Hernandez, one of our youth counselor from last year, and he gave me some updates as to what he was up to and has accomplished amazing things his freshman year at Pomona University. And you may have seen the article in the Keizer Times about him and Crystal Llanos and what they have managed to accomplish in their very again, their freshman year. But one thing that really impressed me was that Sam is turning his efforts and his talents to public policy. And so we kind of saw him at work last year. And he, is not doing this from the back door. He is doing this, he's aspiring to do this through graduate work at Harvard and other very impressive paths. So anyway, just really appreciate his service last year and wish him and Crystal and certainly all of our other graduates the best of luck coming and they have set the bar very high. So that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for stepping in for the Planning Commission, very short notice, so I appreciate that. Last Thursday, we had the West Keizer Neighborhood Association meeting, and we had 24 people in attendance, and we talked recycling again. They were curious on how we're doing, and it's just too early to tell if we've really paid attention to what we're supposed to be recycling. I don't normally talk about voting, but Salem Electric, their member services manager was there, and they have, for those people that live in Keizer that have Salem Electric, you should be receiving your ballot to vote on some bylaw changes. And the nice thing is 6 members will receive a $500 credit on their Salem Electric bill. So if you're a Salem Electric holder, I would say make sure you fill out your ballot, because $500 credit on your bill is pretty nice, I think. So, yeah, 2 weeks, I don't know. But, and their annual meeting is May 7th, and it's open to anyone, and it's at the Ross West Salem location. So I just thought I would share that. The West Keizer neighborhood is still, they've adopted Cummings Elementary, so they're going to be working on some projects around the school to keep it beautified. And I will not be here May 6th, but I'll be here for all the budget and everything, so I just wanted everyone to know that I won't be here for that meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a lot. I will say that we have Arts Commission will be meeting next week on Tuesday, and the packet went out to all of us, and I would love input prior to that meeting regarding the drawings that for the story polls. So if anybody would chime in on that, I'd appreciate it to take to that meeting. So that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Parsons.
I did like 2 more things than that, so it'll be a little bit longer. I went on the tour with her. She already talked about that. If you haven't been on that tour, you really should go. It's what they do is amazing, and with the amount of people they do is amazing. So I suggest anyone should do that tour. Last week we had the active shooter training, and that was very informative, and that was very on the top.
Yeah.
Good. It was fantastic. So glad we did that. Had the Marion County Commissioners breakfast, and both the sheriff and the DA were there, so I'm not sure if they were there because of Kim or me, but but they both showed up at the same time, so that was pretty cool. This Wednesday is, the Chamber is doing this monthly Cooks Night Out at different restaurants in the city of Keizer, and so Wednesday night will be Jeff and Cheryl's at the Turn at McNary. So from 5 p.m. I think to 9 p.m. and you can enter to win a $100 gift certificate for every person that participates in the dinner. So it's just to kind of bring people together to go to these businesses and Cooks Night Out. You don't have to cook, so just go. I have court on the 17th, judge evaluation, I should say, sorry. Boy, I just talking about the DA and then I talk about court. And then we got, I know, this is really bad, isn't it? And then we have budget coming up, so I know we're all pretty excited about that, just in a couple weeks. So I'm looking so forward to budget, so that ought to be interesting. And I have one question for Mr. Brown. Is In-N-Out in, or are they out?
Well, Their permits are very close to being issued. They have submitted all their drawings. They've revised their drawings to comply with the development code, the master plan, Keizer Station master plan. So,
So they're in?
well, they applied for a permit. The permit has yet to be issued. There are a couple of details that they're working on their civil side. Okay. Some very small details. So it's just waiting for them to pull the trigger.
Okay.
I must say, at your next meeting, there is a master plan revision that is going to be asked for. They would like the addition of a couple of more monument signs, 2 more monument signs, but again, those details will be at your next meeting.
Okay. Perfect.
And the purpose of that, my understanding is that that will be able to provide some additional wayfinding for such businesses that may locate in the Keizer Station area.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Inquiring minds want to know. I'm still getting calls too. I
Yeah,
think we all
well,
are.
I just need to know whether they're in or out. It was actually just an in or out question, but that's okay. I like the rest of your answers. That was good.
Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I missed a whole bunch of stuff the last week. It was kind of mushy because, as you all know, I lost my little brother unexpectedly. But I did finally catch up on some of the latest. I did miss my cow club, so I going to try to reschedule something for here down the road for a trip for Chris. That was named Chris. And this week we have Gupster Neighborhood Association, and next week I got points of interest. Let's see. Oh, yeah. One of the things I do every year is help I don't know if you guys know this, but Lebanon has a medical school for doctors. And as part of their training every year I go and help them with the what they call the clinical skills lab, and where I either am the interpreter or I play the patient, and an SP. They call them SPs. I forgot what it was. Something patient, student patient. And that's really enlightening to watch some of these young medical students become on their way to becoming physicians, and they're all great. We do like 15 students a day, and it's kind of interesting. But I enjoy doing that. I've been doing it for many years. Like I said, I lost my little brother, and I just want to tell you guys that thank you for your support, for your reaching out to me. I really appreciate that. I did find out something. I've always knew he was a good guy, and he knew he was doing good work, but I didn't realize the impact and, all the media and the senators, and it was really amazing to watch. I'm glad my kids went to experience this with me. They actually had over 1,000 people marching and the church. Oh, it was amazing. But anyway, thank you all, and I appreciate it. That's it.
Well, Roland, we care very deeply, and we are very sorry for your loss, and just want to celebrate your brother's life as well. And we know that it's family, but also that each of you is still carrying on the legacy of caring for others. So I'll let you know. Just a couple things to add as the hour is getting a little later. On the 2nd, I went to the Volcanoes Advisory. May 11th will be Fan Fest, so watch for all sorts of announcements related to that. Again, rolling out a lot of the changes this year for the fan experience at Volcanoes Stadium. Volcanoes is a major part of our business community and just our community in general. So really excited about their investment in us and the excitement that they're building up for Keizer. On the 3rd of April, I got to attend Our Salem, which is their process for their community visioning. And one of the interesting little side notes was that they are doing a greenhouse gas inventory as part of the project. They had a contractor that they're using with proprietary software, so you can't really see how they're doing the formulas, and the assistance that they used for their input was from a community organization and not any of the local academic institutions. So we'll see how that turns out. On the 4th was MWACT, where Mid-Willamette Area Commission on Transportation, talking a lot about the I-5 paving. Folks, I-5 is going to be paved this summer from May to October, so watch for the road closures. Most of the work's going to be done at night, but it may impact your ability to get to the I-5 interchanges in the morning. Our portion will supposed to open at 5 a.m., but there's another portion that will open at 9, so for full traffic. and that might impact people's ability to travel, especially northbound. So watch for that this summer, plan ahead, and we'll all make it through to October when they open everything up, and the ruts will be gone, which will be awesome. CTEC signing night was awesome. On the 11th, all 10 programs at CTEC, the Career Technical Education Center, has students that signed their letters of intent to attend this fall. Over 900 applications for those slots, and a great deal of family and community support for all of the students who are looking to build their skills and their futures at CTEC for the 2019-20 school year. I also attended Keizer Homegrown Theater's Enchanted April. It was marvelous. And you had to be there to catch that joke. But it was fantastic. Coming up, we've got a work session, and I know it's under agenda input, but I'll be going to the similar work session on the Mid-Willamette Homeless Initiative and the development of the continuum of care. They're going to be, I'll be with former Commissioner Janet Carlson and Sean O'Day from the Council of Governments at Salem, and then we'll come and make the same presentation here. And why are we doing it separately is because we want everybody to have the opportunity to have a conversation. You guys are a little more up to speed, I think, on this, so we'll be able to really dive into the conversation here rather than try to blend it into two city councils at the same time. SCATS, the Salem Keizer Area Transportation Study, will be releasing the STIP, what does that stand for? Thank you, State Transportation Improvement Plan for public comment, and then Little League Task Force on the 24th. And on the 29th, I'll be heading to Bend for OMPOC, which is the Oregon Municipal Planning Organization Consortium, with Colleen Bush from Salem Keizer Transit will be representing our MPO there. And then budget on the 30th and the 2nd. That's all I got. So, moving on then to other business, this time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney, I know you have something.
Of course. Thank you very much, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. I would refer you to the email I sent to the council this afternoon. After giving some thought, I'll back up. We have a Rotary agreement. Rotary uses the community rooms they have under a 10-year agreement, which is expiring shortly. We had hoped to bring that to council tonight, but we need to get a little more details worked out. Since they do use it on a weekly basis, I was uncomfortable with just not having the agreement expire. And so after giving it some thought, I think the best thing to do is first a motion to a motion to suspend the rules to consider matter, and after that, a motion to extend the by letter agreement, the use of the community rooms by Rotary under the current terms to May 31st, with the understanding that the new agreement would be backdated to begin, and that should be April 21. I was off by a day. The agreement expires on April 20, so the new agreement would start April 21. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Council President Freeman.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that. I move that
The
the...
motion to suspend the rules?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
I think I'm on it, but I'm okay with the reminder, honestly.
Sorry.
I move that the Keizer City Council suspend the rules to consider the extension of the Rotary agreement for here
Second.
at the community room.
No.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure it was
Pauses.
all in there.
No more pauses like that, please.
You really messed him up. He's trying to be on top of this.
Second, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I guess we're out of sync. It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council suspend the rules to take up the matter of the Rotary use of the community rooms. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Council President Freeman.
I move that the Keizer City Council extend the agreement with Keizer Rotary to use the community rooms through May 31st of 2019, with the understanding that the new agreement will be backdated to begin April 21st, 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council extend the use agreement with the Rotary for the community rooms under the current terms to May 31st with 2019, with the understanding that the new agreement would be backdated to begin April 21st, 2019. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. City Manager.
Okay, moving on. Tracy. Tim? Well, Lieutenant Nelson, you drew the short straw this evening.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here after 19 years. It's been a great experience. And I'm glad I could sit in tonight. I just took a few notes, just an update on recruits and hiring. Recruit Officer Jennifer Starnes, she's finishing up field training, and she should be on the road solo very soon. And also Paul Quintero, he's out at the academy, and he's doing very well, and he should be finished with that soon as well. And then we are currently in the process of recruiting 2 officers. We have panel interviews starting next week. And that's a short summary.
Very good. Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Brown.
Nothing tonight.
Other Mr. Lawyer, do you have anything else other than?
Nothing more, thank you.
All right.
I do have one question. So earlier this evening, we passed a resolution to enter an agreement for the paving of River Road. So are we going to be putting construction, closure, that sort of schedules available online and on Facebook so people will know?
Yes, we will when we have them. This work will be all night work. Hours are about 10:30 to 5:30, but when we have the schedule, we will post it on Facebook, website, and let everybody know.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Written communications, I have a letter here from Mr. Alan Barker, addressed to the City Council. Please accept this letter as a formal notification. I'm resigning from my position as a citizen member of Keizer City Budget Committee. My last day will be April 12, 2019. Thank you for the opportunity to serve in this position for the last 3 budget sessions. I appreciate the opportunity I've had to represent my neighbors and, as a taxpayer, witness how our folks in the field and in the offices take care of Keizer. I'd like to offer my opinions and extend my admiration to the original group of folks that banded together to form a plan to incorporate Keizer as a separate, distinct entity. That group had the foresight to create just enough rules to operate as smoothly as possible with minimal interference and maximum protection against many of the issues plaguing our neighbors to the south of us. If you agree, go public. Too late. Unfortunately, we are not fully insulated from the impact of those elected to Salem City Council. Their decision to kill the Willamette River Bridge project by not completing the minor paperwork on the project is a slap in the face to the hundreds of citizens, employees of private companies, many cities, county staff who have invested thousands of hours. Keizer City Council and our city staffers invested time and their talents to benefit all the citizens in our communities. They knew how much the bridge would benefit all of us, especially those who waste so much time trying to get back to their families or cross to do business on the other side of the Willamette. Shame on Salem City Council for what they did. Salem City Council knew exactly what they were doing when they cast a vote, which will cause all of us to waste our time, talents, and efforts while attempting to improve our quality of life here. I hope that each and every voter in Salem represents the next time they vote who impose unnecessary grief and hardship. Elections have consequences. It's too bad that here in Keizer, we'll have to suffer with them too. We don't deserve the consequences they forced on us. It's too bad folks in Salem aren't represented the same way we are in Keizer. We have a lot to be thankful for. Last but not least, I have 2 major concerns. I hope first, any vote taken by our City Council and Budget Committee members to include a sunset clause. We must constantly assess feasibility and effectiveness of decisions, always strive to improve. Second, negotiations with unions or any person getting a paycheck from the taxpayers needs to have more accountability. Just trying to learn what's going on in those meetings is not permitted. Why not? Who agreed to that? I don't. I think it's wrong, and I'm a union member too. Signed, Alan Barker, Keizer. I want to thank Mr. Barker for sharing his thoughts, and I want to thank him for his service to the community through the Budget Committee, and I wish him all the best. So does that leave us a space open at this point? So I don't know that we can get this filled in time, so we will have a vacancy during the Budget Committee process, but we will get the recruitment out there. If folks are interested in being on the Budget Committee, obviously not for 2019, but please come. These are all public meetings. please get your application in through our website at keizer.org and click on volunteer.
And we were full until that resignation, by the way.
We were full. Life happens. All right. One other piece of written communication was from Elizabeth Witherspoon. A huge thank you and attaboys and girls for resisting the insane new law that eliminates plastic grocery bags and make us pay for paper ones. I will now stop shopping at all Salem stores and do all my shopping in Keizer stores from now on. If thousands of other people do the same thing, that might send a message to Salem that we will not cave to the tyranny of the left and we will vote our feet in money. Keizer should have a new ad campaign. Shop in Keizer. We don't need to save the planet, we need to save our bags. Haha, I love Keizer, thank you. So, just for the record, I have had my same cloth bags and I've made a lot of money on them for many years. So, I encourage us to embrace our frugality that we are so noted for by using our cloth bags. All right. Agenda input. So we have Budget Committee on April 30th and May 2nd, both starting at 6 p.m., and on May 9th, if necessary, for a third meeting at 6 p.m. On May 6th, Keizer City Council will meet in regular session, and I've noted that Council President Freeman will be absent. And then we will also meet May 13th in a work session at 6 p.m. That is all I have for this evening. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Yes, ma'am. Yo, yes, and you left it right here. It's bright yellow, and I went right past it. We will have a work session, 7 p.m. on Monday, April 22nd, and that is for the Willamette Homeless Initiative and the Continuum of Care update. And with that, it is 9:29, and we are adjourned.